All right, everyone. How's it going? Krim here, obviously, and I am joined tonight by Rick, and we will be going over the bracket reveal 90 entrants into the brackets. Uh, a lot of information that we're going to try to get through before the interesting weekly tonight.
Yeah, we had a lot of great races that led up to this bracket, and I'm really getting excited to go over this bracket, see who's playing who, and talk about some of these interesting matches that we've got going on. Now, if you want me to say, or you want me, Krim, to say that this is an interesting matchup or this is a great matchup, we're going to have to do that for almost every single matchup that's on this screen that we'll be showing you in just a few moments. So we'll try to keep those words to a minimum. That being said, you said we have 90 runners playing. Just to give us a refresher of how the brackets are going to be set up, Krim.
Well, basically, the qualifiers gave us two top entrants each week. So there's a total of 10 top entrants, and there will be a total of 38 buys just with how the structure is and everything. It's going to be inverse seating, so one versus, well, for the first week it'll be like 64 versus 65, and 40 versus 89, stuff like
Yeah,
that.
technically
Um,
there'd be a 1 versus 128, but we don't have 128 in here, so one gets a bye. We'll go over those brackets. We'll go over the seedings coming up in just a few moments. Just also as a reminder, how were these seedings determined?
there was a Z-score created. Z-score was your score minus the average of the top five times divided by the average of the top five times, and that was all subtracted from one. It sounds like a very complicated formula, but really all it is a an average away from the top scores, just to sort of give it a more realistic instead of a mean from the average where people can sit there and manipulate it by taking forever and stuff like that. So we did learn there's a little bit of fine tuning that we have to do going forward if we're going to use this formula again in regards to forfeits and everything else. But I would say for the first go at it, with all the feedback that we got and everything, it was definitely a fun endeavor, opposed to the Swiss that we've done in the past.
And in case anybody's wondering what the flags are going to be for brackets, what you saw last week with the qualifiers, that's the setup that we're going to be running all throughout the entire brackets. There's no increase of difficulty when we get to like the Elite Eight. There's no elimination bracket. This is going to be a single elimination best of three format, playing the same flags that we saw back in week number 5.
Yeah, that's one decision we actually made pretty early on, is that we were going to sort of build up over the qualifiers, and once we hit week 5, we were just going to carry that all the way through, rather than making people try to figure out when they're going to practice for the increase in difficulty and everything else. It was just sort of a build up over the weeks, and we're just going to continue it throughout the entire tournament. So by the end, people should be rather comfortable and rather tired of the flags.
So I think people are here. They're waiting to see when their names are going to pop up on the screen. So before we do that, we've got one last piece of information that we need to hand out to our runners here, and that are deadlines.
Yeah, so obviously the brackets are going to start tomorrow. You can start scheduling tonight, get with whoever you're up against and start scheduling. Um, One important note, Fred will not have these matches until after the reveal tonight. So after this reveal is done, then we will go ahead, we will send ping about the link, and you can go ahead and start scheduling your matches. So the schedule itself, and I accidentally highlighted it. So the round of 128 will have a 2-week time period, and that means October 6th, Sunday, October 6th will be the deadline for that.
Yeah, we've kind of given a little bit of consideration for the fact that this upcoming weekend is going to be TwitchCon amongst other things and amongst everything else. And hey, I just saw a little bit of a spoiler right there. We'll get to that just a moment. Hold on, hold on, hold on. But yeah, we know this upcoming weekend's going to be busy for a lot of people because they may be heading over to TwitchCon in California, or they might be taking part of other things that are going on. So we've given 2 weeks for the first week of these brackets. That's called a preview, indeed. So one other thing that we need to mention about scheduling as much as available as possible. You can do races back to back, but we're not asking you to do games 2 and 3 back to back. If you're going to do anything back to back, it's games 1 to 2, and you're not even required to do back to back if you do separate nights of 2.
Yeah, that and the reason for that is just it makes things for the restreamers a lot easier for us to try to figure out restreams and everything else. Especially like if someone would schedule matches 2 and 3 together and we wouldn't need match 3, well then we may have blocked out like a whole hour and a half on Speed Gaming or Randomania for a race that's not going to happen. So
Yeah,
that's the big reason.
absolutely. So I think we've already shown a little bit of a preview of what's going to happen. Krim, let's get to it.
Okay, before I advance, I do want to pay special note to that bottom note there. You don't actually have to wait until the week of that round to schedule your match. If you're a 32 versus 33, which is technically a round of 64 matchup, you can schedule immediately. You do not have to wait for that. As soon as you know your opponent, you can go ahead and schedule your race. So yeah, we're going to start off with the 6.
Yeah, I wonder who that number 6 seed is, Krim.
So, yeah, I bet no one can guess who it's gonna be. Oh, look at that, it's Sea Falcon. But yeah,
Sea Falcon ended up getting the automatic go into the top 10 by way had one of the best Z scores for a single week, thanks to his crushing of a week 4 seeds during shapes. And Sea Falcon's a big shape specialist, and you gotta have to watch out for him as we move into brackets.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, 6 is not bad overall, like having a top 10 qualifier time, but just beyond that, in terms of total average time throughout the week, I think Sea Falcon was like 11th overall, which is insane. So definitely, and a really good randomizer player. I know he does a ton of different randomizers, so definitely a name to watch and a good name to start out our brackets with. And Sea Falcon is actually going to get the winner of the matchup between 59 and 70, and I'll get those up. And it's going to be Dark Magician 1184 and Sparkover.
Yeah, Dark Magician 1184 is a vanilla speedrunner of this game, has also done Link to the Past and Link to the Past Randomizer. Ended up running in 6 of the qualifiers. Did only have 1 to head against Sparkover, although Dark Magician ended up forfeiting in a match where Sparkover ended up finishing 12th out of 14 with a time of 1:44.59. Sparkover's definitely had some experience over the course of these qualifiers. That was week 5, race 4 that those two met.
Yeah, so we already prefaced that we're not going to say every match is going to be a great match, because every match will be a great match. Every one of the runners here has shown skill. Like I've seen probably almost all the entrants in some capacity racing, whether it's checking it out on an SRL race or whatever. So yeah, but the other portion of this is 27 and 36. Now remember, the top 38 are actually getting buys, so these are 2 buys. So this is actually a round of 64 matchup. But man, Rick, is this a matchup? So 27 is going to be Raiko Ryder, and he will be going up against number 36, Jam Eadler.
Oh boy. Raikou Rider and Jam have been members of the Zelda 1 randomizer community for quite a long time. Very, very evenly matched in this regards. Jam ended up having to take up a 0 in week number 2 because he was in the midst of his Zelda-thon things. And of course, a great participant. He's definitely come along over the last couple of weeks. Has Jam, Raikou Rider, solid. It's going to be a great match.
Absolutely. Another one of our buys, number 22, is going to be Zarnax.
Zarnax has been turning it on, but he's kind of like wavy as far as how he does. 1 week he ended up getting a .60. That was week number 1. But then he bounced back and got a .96 for the Z-score at week number 2. Also, 3 weeks that he had a Z-score in the 90s. And I think whoever turns out to be the 43 or the 86 seed, they've got a beast who they're going to be facing in round number 2.
Well, speaking of 43 and 86, that matchup is going to be Freiteeth versus the Alan Heffley.
I'll start with Alan Heffley here. Alan Heffley has only popped in a couple of races during the course of this 5-week qualifier back in week number 1 and week number 3, so had to swallow a few zeros on his way to getting seated in that regard. So don't count the Alan Heffley out. Of course, people do remember Alan Heffley for a seed that I don't think we're really going to get too in depth with here, but it took quite a long time to complete. Freiteeth ended up walking away with 2 weeks where he had a Z-score in the 90s. So be careful, the Freiteeth. That could be a really, really interesting matchup in that second round if it's Zarnax versus Freiteeth. But don't count the Alan Heffley out.
Yeah, Zarnax and Alan Heffley also are pretty predominant Z2 players, so maybe they'll.
Oh yeah, definitely. They've had
with,
experience amongst different randomizers.
Yeah, they'll probably argue with us to just let them do a Z2 seed instead.
So coming up next, we have the number 11 seed. Now, this is the first of the runners who did not get an automatic top 10 by way of a top 2 finish in each of the 5 weeks. So even though they're number 11, you're going to have to watch out for this runner. Who is it, Krim?
That's going to be Random Effect. And
oh, God. He has a .997 average through the 5 weeks. Very consistent. All throughout these entire weeks, just could not get the score to be above anyone else to secure a top 2 spot each of these weeks. Like a 1.03 wasn't enough in week number 1. A 105 in week 4 wasn't enough. Watch out for Random Effect. 11 may be his seed number, but he's going to be tough going through brackets.
Absolutely, and he will be taking on the winner of the 54-75 matchup, and that will be Tetralee versus Leslie Pro.
Okay, so Tetralee versus Leslie Pro, they went head-to-head 3 times during the course of the qualifiers. Tetralee ended up finishing above Leslie Pro all 3 cases. The average time between those two was around 20 minutes difference between the 2 runners, but don't count either of these runners out. Should be a real fun 54 versus 75 match.
Absolutely, and if you know anything about how the NCAA bracket is, 6 seed, obviously, when it comes down to the Elite 8, is matched up against the 3 seed. So we're going to jump to the 3 seed portion of this bracket.
I already see this name on my screen, and this is going to be a very, very fierce number 3 seed. Has won several tournaments. I guess that gives it away. Who is it, Grim?
Yeah, that's going to be none other than Crystal Saber.
Yeah, Crystal Saber has come in, had a real rough week number 1, got a .74, which really affected the score here for Crystal Saber. Bounced back with a 1.15, which gave him the automatic top 2 bid here of that week, gave him the automatic top 10 seed. 1.02 in week 3, .92 in week 4, 1.13 in week number 5. I could say something about level 9 and about Saber being there, but He's still got to get everything like anyone else does. And who faces him in round number 2? That's going to come down to the 62 and 67 seeds.
And those would be Brewers fan JP and Shaitan 1, or I probably butchered that. I do remember them saying before how it's pronounced.
I butcher anytime I'm on commentary. Brewers fan JP ended up going head-to-head against Shaitan 6 times during the course of the qualifiers. And Brewers fan JP ended up getting a 4-2 advantage over Shaitan. The difference between these two runners, and on average, is about maybe 4.5 to 5 minutes difference between these two runners as far as how fast they go. Brewers fan JP beat Shaitan in the week 1 round race 2 qualifier, but Shaitan won week 3 race 2, then week 3 race 5. JP took that. Also week 4 race 4. In week 5 they split. Shaitan took the second race, and then JP took race number 5.
All right, so the bottom part of that area is going to be our 30 versus 35 matchup, and Rick, we'll go ahead and cover 30 first because this is a relatively new runner to the Z1 community, so really impressive seating here. And that's Angel FM.
Angel FM comes into this after boosting up his score, definitely helped out his seeding by getting a 0.94 in week number 5. Let me just really briefly pull up that race, that information from that race. It turned out to be in that god-awful race number 7 that a certain somebody that is joining me on the call here decided to roll our runners that took RC Drone 90 minutes to beat.
Not just to beat, to win.
That's right. Angel FM was 11 minutes behind him, was close to actually getting ahead of Furious K as far as that race was concerned. So Angel FM's definitely coming along, and I've liked seeing the progress on some of these runners who, heading into this tournament, I had not heard of before.
Absolutely. And Angel FM will be taking on our 35 seed, Eat My Steel 1.
Well, let me see here what I can say about You My Steel. Also comes in with a 0.92 in week number 5, as I'll pull up that information right now just to get ourselves on track. Ended up getting that in the week 5 race number 2 qualifier, where E My Steel finished with a 111, just behind another newcomer to this game, Magic Friends. Ended up beating Antlers, Chester, Amazing Toaster, Dig Shake, Truant Gamer, JSR of runners. This is going to be a great matchup to see which of these two can outwit the other.
Yeah, absolutely. So on the bottom half here, we have our 19 seed, and this is a name that none of us are unfamiliar with, and that is Alsoa 999.
Never heard of him. Okay, you're expecting me to say a little bit more. Okay, Alsoa is definitely no stranger to the randomizer scene. Has raced in this, also raced in Link to the Past randomizer, also has raced in Zelda 2 randomizer. So if you're picking a trilogy runner, hey, there you go. Alsoa is definitely one to pick right there. Best week for Alsoa was a 9.64 in week number 3. Week 2 was just behind that, with week 5 also being in the 90s as well. Alsoa is going to have a fun match ahead of him when he faces off against the winner of the 46 versus 83. And Krim, who is that?
Well, that's going to be Sis Crusher versus Toasty Muffins 5.
Toasty Muffins 5 is somebody who we've seen in this community for the last few tournaments, and it's definitely nice to see Toasty Muffins in the Zelda community. Did not race in week 2, did not race in week number 5. Didn't really hurt his average too much, as the average for Toasty Muffins was heading into those, if you took those two away, was going to be just a little bit above that at about 1.17. As far as Sis Crusher is concerned, we've seen Sis Crusher pop up in some of these races before. Top Z score for Sis Crusher 0.80 in week number 2.
Yeah, Sis Crusher has been someone that's been consistently good, and just an example, and I know back in the Pennaforce tournament we mentioned this because of how Swiss plays out and everything. And it's the same way with the qualifiers. If something happens and a runner isn't able to go for a week, yes, that 0 does hurt their seeding. So seedings are somewhat misleading. It's just to take it all in stride. The bigger thing is to look at some of these matchups.
Absolutely.
And speaking of which, 14.
Number 14, I just would like to introduce this person as somebody who we were wondering if they were going to be actually participating in this tournament when we announced this tournament, because they decided that they were going to go ahead and take a break for family reasons. And that's always a great thing if you want to try to take a break for family reasons. But this person is a treasure in the community, made some tutorials for the Zelda 1 community. Who are we talking about?
Yeah, naturally he would be some multiple of 7, and it's going to be Redbird Grad.
I love the fact that he's a multiple of 7. Now, let's talk about Redbird Grad. It's going to be a fantastic runner to be watching here as we go through this entire bracket. 0.95 in week number 5, 0.91 in week number 1, 0.99 in week 3, 1.08. I bring up these Z-scores because what the Z-scores really mean in this regards is if they are steady throughout the entire tournament, and when you're talking high levels like the 90s and the 1.0s, means consistency.
Yeah, absolutely. And really,
now,
I don't think Redbird, he may have taken off from streaming, but I don't think he took off from the randomizer, because he came back and
he did not. Good. He came back to this like he had not even missed a day in regards to his return to randomizers. And like I said, we're really glad to have him here. And whoever gets him in the second round in the matchup between the 51 and 78, well, that's going to be a Redbird Grad matchup.
Yeah.
You better hope something's in 7.
I know TG just asked if this is the Death Mountain bracket, and with Seed 78, TG, it very well could be. Seed 51 is going to be Bogey Smalls, another one of our newer runners. Very impressive so far. And then, of course, number 78, Norestra.
Norestra, as you know, around the community, some certain things about a bow being a thing of theirs, also something about a particular seed that I've referenced earlier in this broadcast. We'll start with Bogey Smells, the number 51 seed. Had some good weeks in week numbers 2 and 4, 0.85 in week number 2, a 0.85 in week number 4. That helped out his seeding for Norestra. Norestra is somebody that you're going to want to have to watch out for. Let's be careful. Let's be real about this. A lot of these matches are you could see them probably lean a particular way on paper, but once you start randomizing things, who knows what is going to happen. Norestra is somebody who tries their hardest, and they're going to make a great effort on perhaps making it to Redbird Grad in the second round.
Okay, so that completes our 3 and our 6. So we'll go on to the 7 and 2, which will be on the same side of the bracket if you look at it NCAA style.
So the number 7 seed of this tournament is somebody who just earned that top 10 this past week. Got a 0.11 when we threw everything at all the runners. This is going to be a runner that you're going to want to watch out for, because let's see. If you're dealing with this kind of setup and they decided to not only win that race that they played as far as their qualifier is, they beat it by 8 minutes. Nearly 8 minutes in that qualifier. We're talking about the race 1 qualifier winner, and that is Sighttown.
Yeah, Saiton's an impressive runner, and honestly, from week one, he was one of the ones that I was expecting to get a top 10. So, really, really good runner. I'm looking forward to that, and obviously gets the first round bye, but will be going up against the 58-71 matchup. And that's going to be Catastrophe 573 versus Stygian Blight.
So these runners here, Stygian Blight has only run in 3 of the qualifiers: week 1, week 2, and week 3. For Catastrophe, we've seen them and run in multiple of these qualifiers throughout the entire process. Finished 4th in a field of 16 in the week 1 race number 4 qualifier. Ended up getting a 110. Has hovered around that 1 hour mark. Shapes ended up giving him a little bit of a fit in the race 3. Bounced back a little bit after that week here to put in a solid effort here in week 5, race 4, when he finished 7th out of 14.
Absolutely. So we'll move on to our next runners. Our next runner is actually someone who's been around since the dawn of the randomizer, and really is pretty much involved in any randomizer. So that's going to be Jay Coper himself.
You can say anything you want about Jay Coper in regards to what he does in this community, what he does in other communities. You know him from several communities. It was whether it's Zelda 1, Zelda 2, Zelda 3. He's always around and always is going to be giving you such offering of advice here. Had a really rough week number 2 by what I would have to guess, or what I would have to assume would be his standards, getting a 0.62 in week number 2, but bounced back, getting a 0.99 in week number 3. Jay Coper is somebody who whoever takes the 39 and 90 seeds here and heads up to him is going to have to fear.
Yeah, well, our 39 and our 90 seeds have something in common, and that is a lot of the same letter in their names. 39 is Master of Alliteration himself, Dude, and number 90 is CZ.
Got to give Dude a lot of credit here in his first tournament. Almost getting a first round bye, ending up dropping down to the 39 seed overall at the very end. Takes what could be a scary number here when you take a look at his week number 2, when he got a 0.106, or rather 1.06 in week number 2. And I believe, if I remember correctly, that was a second place finish in that race. And that was a very solid effort. 0.91 in week number 4, 0.86, just had a really rough week number 1 that kind of set him down. Week 3 wasn't friendly to him either, but Dude is going to be somebody that is going to be very, very interesting as we move throughout this tournament. Once he gets to Jay Coper, I really would be interesting to see how he does, but he's got to get through Esnes first, and Esnes, it's tough to get an eye for what Esnes is up to, because we've only seen him in week number 1, and he ended up taking a 0 in that week.
Yeah, we'll be really interested in, maybe he's been practicing off stream. I mean,
absolutely.
That was part of our stipulation that runners only had to race 1 week. So, race week 1 may have been practicing in the off or whatever, but we'll definitely see what that matchup is like. We're going to go ahead and move to the bottom here. And number 23 is Excise Blue.
Excise Blue is somebody that you're going to have to keep an eye out here. Had a really rough week number 5. So, you see him drop down to the 23rd seed as a result, because he ended up taking a 0 in race number 2, and I'm just going to pull that information up here really fast. In race number 2, he ended up forfeiting in a race that just was not going his way. In fact, he have some issues in that race that caused him to have to forfeit, but he bounced back, and he ended up finishing 2nd. And let me just put this out here. Finished 16 seconds behind Unos in second place in the Week 5 Race 3 qualifier.
Yeah, like there was a lot of variance in his times for that week, and of course forfeits will do that, and it will sort of modify your time, but definitely not someone who should be slept on at all. I mean,
And
really,
it was an accidental retry. Our chat's real reminding us of that fact. It was an accidental retry that wiped out all of his progress. So that is a rough one to bounce back from. But ended up, like I said, he bounced back in that second race.
yeah, absolutely. Um, so I guess the only thing that might be preventing Excise Blue from uh, performing well, and it's been an ongoing gag joke throughout the thing, is about how him and Liquid Husband are malnourished because TGE refused to feed them. And well, we learned that this is all a gimmick because there's a potential matchup, because our 4287 is TGVE versus I'm Enamel.
Now, let's just say that would be very fun if it turns out to be that Excise Blue takes on TGE in round number 2. Does the loser have to starve? The Greenleaf effect comes into this here after posting 3 over 0.90 scores in weeks number 2, 4, and 5. At a rough week 1, threw that behind him, bounced back, had some very solid performances in the last 2 weeks to help raise up his score, get himself to the point that he is right now. Let me pull up that race that he ended up helping himself out with a 0.97 back in week number 4, and I'll get that up here while we'll continue to talk a little bit more. Sorry, I pulled up the wrong one. There he is. Third place finish. He beat Saver in that race. He beat Fred in that race. And we haven't even talked about Fred yet, but we've talked about Saver. So TGE is starting to get to that level where he's going to be dangerous. And that second round matchup could be very interesting between Excess Blue and TGE. But I'm Enamel is somebody we can't forget about. I'm Enamel is coming along. Week number 3 was their best week. Had to take zeros back in week number 1 and week number 5, but is definitely shown up that they're around here and is a great member of the community.
Absolutely. And then at the very bottom, we have our final automatic top 10.
Let me talk about him before we introduce his name, because this is one of those cases where getting the top 2 of each week could really, really help you. Heading into this week, I just kind of spoiled it. Dr. JPHD, just show it. Dr. JPHD ended up coming into the week with a 0.6 average. Got a 0.10445, and by decimal points over Jam Evil, takes the last of the top 2 seeds to get the number 10 seed in this tournament.
Yeah, this is actually so unprecedented that I actually had to go back and recalculate, because my equation only rounded out to 3 digits. So I actually had to go back and recalculate, and it was actually 1.04449 for Dr. J PhD and 1.04446 for Jam. So
yeah, we're talking close. 3 10,000ths of a point, or 10 or 100,000ths of a point was the difference between what gave Dr. J PhD. And as I was mentioning, he came into the week, he was going to be around the number 60 seed, and then took a big jump up to number 10. Actually, no, number 50 seed was where he was sitting at, and then took a big 40-point jump up to number 10.
Yeah, so Dr. J PhD will be taking on the winner of the 5574 matchup, and that will be Tom J versus Trailsy 420.
Okay, so Tom J and Trailsy faced each other 4 times during the course of the qualifiers. Tom J won all 4 of those races. Both of these runners were regulars in the qualifiers, and it's nice to see. Tom J is somebody who I have not noticed in the community prior to this tournament, but definitely somebody who I'm glad to see. Trail Z is somebody who's been known here, both the Zelda 1 and Zelda 2 randomizer communities. Ended up taking a third place out of 7 runners in the Week 2 Race 5 qualifier.
Yeah, so really interesting bracket here. As I said, we have some good matchups leading into even possibly better matchups. Looking at UTG Ice Blue, but yeah, don't sleep on any of these runners because I would say that all 4 of the round of 128 matchups are a lot closer than you may initially think because of seeds or anything like that.
Seeds are arbitrary numbers. How they perform with those numbers, well, that's up to you and how you hold on to that controller. Great bracket here, but we've still got more to do, and we've got a weekly race coming up in 1 hour from now. So let's get on to this next one. The number 2 seed has been an iron horse throughout this entire tournament. We saw him run in, like, what was it? 10 straight qualifiers before he actually missed a qualifier. He had won several of those races. He has had a .10 or better score in 4 of those weeks, and the only week that he didn't get a 1.0 average was in week 4. He got a .95. Who am I talking about? He is one of the people that you want to be watching out for, both in vanilla as well as randomizer. We're talking Unos.
Yeah, Unos, if there's a record and an award for most races raced, that will go to Unos because, my goodness, he did everything. Because, honestly, he went in with the mindset, I don't care what my times are, I just want to, in his words, dunk on everybody. And boy, did he.
And he dunked on a lot of people over the course of these qualifiers. And, you know, it's the thing that you want to have him in the races because it gives you a true indication of your skill. And it's just a phenomenal watch when you're watching him do some of these races, how he's able to construct what he does, how he goes through some of the rooms. In fact, this is something that I would recommend a lot of people do, is just to go ahead and load up Unos and watch him attack some of these races. You might learn a few things about how you could do some combat in some rooms that is a whole lot faster than what you're doing.
Yeah, so the matchup between 63 and 66, whoever wins that is going to have their hands full. But my goodness, like, out of a bunch of the round of 128s, this one really intrigues me because I've been watching both of these runners for quite a while now, and this is going to be a good matchup.
Yeah, we're talking NY Rambler and Garion Old Wolf. New York Rambler comes into this as the 63 seed, and they had 2 head-to-heads during the course of the qualifiers. Rambler ended up taking both of those with an average time of about, I would say, 17 minutes difference between Rambler and Gary and Old Wolf. Gary and Old Wolf is somebody you know from the community. He's been in the community. See him at GDQ. He's playing Randomizer. He's playing the cave shuffles. He's playing all that good stuff. Has partaked in some of those races that go on here in RSRL. So leave it up to Gary and Old Wolf, but you don't want to discount him.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I gotta say, there's a lot of power in this part of the bracket. I know we already had, quote-unquote, the Death Mountain bracket, but there's a lot of powerhouses in this. 31-34 is definitely not one to sneeze at either.
I'm going to say that 31-34 is going to be quite a smashing matchup here. Homer J Smash versus I'm a Sock.
Yeah, another one of those that immediately jumped out to me in the, we're guaranteed to see this matchup. Very, very intriguing matchup here between Smash and Sock. So, and obviously they're close because they've been consistently racing throughout the the qualifiers, and they have the 31 and 34 seeds. So obviously really close, and we can see a lot of potentially a good 3 matches between these two.
I'm a stock ended up having their best week in week number 3, 0.90. Homer J Smash's best week was in week number 4 with a 0.92. These two could be evenly matched on paper, though.
So on the bottom, 18 seed, another good seed. So we'll get to him so you can give some statistics about him, and that would be RKC
RKCTKC, which is going to be a hard one when you're trying to say it 10 times fast, comes in missing last week, so ended up taking a 0, which ended up dropping him down a couple of spots. And as Krim alluded to, taking a week off didn't really hurt these runners as far as seedings, because you got to see that RKCTKC is number 18, and because they weren't one of the top 2 seeds of a week, therefore, they couldn't be anything above number 11. Comes out of week number 4 with a 1.01. That's going to be vicious here for whoever faces him in the matchup between 47 and 82.
You almost slipped on 47 there, I heard it. But 47 and 82 is going to be Sassy Link versus Janth.
I did not. I may have sounded like I was about ready to say Sassage Link, but I was not in that case. But in regards to Sassage Link, we've seen Sassage Link come around. You definitely can identify him by his Mike Ditka use of the avatar. Comes in, definitely has dropped off a little bit from week number 1 when they put it up at 0.91, 0.83 in week number 2. But should put together a fantastic race between 2 runners who know the vanilla game, and that's something you have to say about Janeth coming into this. Had one of the best blue ring times until some of the veteran speedrunners came by and smashed it. I mean, how often can you see somebody do a 2 first blue ring route and get a sub 33?
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, I know I haven't played vanilla in a long time, but my blue ring route was nowhere near that efficient. So, yeah.
I know.
Sub 33 is incredibly good.
Now, I want to introduce the number 15 mark here because...
Well, before you do that, I do want to preface it with this. Something was mentioned earlier in chat, and all I can say is be careful what you wish for.
Well, I was gonna say that, Krim. You kind of just stole my thunder. I was going to say exactly to the person who said, watch me get put into the same bracket as Unos, and it happened. Cantaloupe me, you're 15.
Yeah, Cantaloupe me, definitely one of the best vanilla speedrunners in the world. I can't say anything other than he's just incredible, especially with his combat in vanilla. And a lot of that is translating well to the randomizer. Even with shapes, he had some really good times the past couple weeks.
Oh, he very nearly got the top 10 seed in week number 4. Only missed it by 0.2 when he had his 0.111 in week number 4. Just coming up short of JSR's 1.13. We'll get to JSR coming up real soon because we haven't announced his name yet. And I know there's still a lot of people on this board that we have not named. But we also have names that we haven't named that are numbers 50 and 79.
Yeah.
Who will get Cantaloupe Me in the second round.
Yeah, so we have Cantaloupe Me. So, of course, we're going to have Can't Find Bombs. And he'll be facing Sharky 2107.
I love seeing the reaction from the people in chat. Like, for instance, we had Can't Find Bombs deciding to say, well, darn it. I won't say exactly what he said, but so Can't Find Bombs comes in here as the number 50 seed. Pull up some information about him real fast. Has been fairly consistent throughout the entire qualifiers. Sharky's a person who you can totally respect in the community because he tries hard and should give Can't Find Bombs a great match here in this best of 3. Let me put this out here. 0.68 was Sharky's number back in week number 5 this past week. Can't find bombs? 0.73. We could have a close showdown.
Absolutely. Exciting to see that. And about 45 minutes away, so I think we have 3 areas left.
My estimation is we got 4 of them, so let's get to it real fast. We've got
Okay.
the number 5 seed coming up on our next slide. And the number 5 slide came in and took the number 2 position back in week number 1 and has carried it throughout, been fairly consistent, 0.9s and 0.1, or rather 1.0s all throughout the entire tournament process. They like the Magic Boomerang, they're Fury SK.
Yeah, Fury is. I mean, he's as consistent can get for Randomizer. I mean, constantly performing well. So, 5 seed is definitely no surprise at all.
So, you know how Fury likes the Magic Boomerang?
Well, of course.
There's another runner that likes the Magic Boomerang, and they got the number 60 seed, who could possibly face Fury in the second round if they end up winning their first match against the 69 seed. We're talking Liquid Husband and Demarine.
Yeah, really entertaining matchup here. Demarine, I believe, took 2 weeks off, but she is like for someone who hasn't really done much at all with you know actual races on SRL with Z1. She came in and has performed very well in all the races that she's been in.
The 2 races that she was in during the qualifiers, week 1, race 6, she was halfway through the field, and the week 3, race 8 was halfway in the field. Could present a interesting match here for Liquid Husband coming in here. We know how Liquid Husband loves those jerseys. Wonder what jersey he's going to be wearing for this best of 3 against Demarine.
Yeah, we'll have to take bets on that. I think there's a prop bet for that.
There could perhaps be. We may be able to do something in that regard. 28 versus 37 next on our list here. This is another second round match, so they've got 3 weeks to complete the match, but they can schedule it any time they would like to. So this first runner, in fact, both of these runners are fairly regulars in the randomizer community. They do a whole variety of races, whether it is shapes, whether it is vanilla dungeons, whether it is whatever it is you want to throw at them. And this should be a fantastic second round match. We're talking Shaddy versus Slidic.
Yeah, another one of those matchups that, you know, when I saw it, it's like, okay, 2 runners that I've seen a lot of, and this is going to be another one of those really good matchups. So I'm excited for this one. So hopefully everyone else looks when they schedule and doesn't schedule at the same time, so we can all watch this.
Oh, yeah, we were bringing the popcorn for that match. So the winner of that match will end up going into the round of 32 to face off against either Fury SK, Liquid Husband, or Demarine. Continuing on with this bracket, we have the number 21 seed. And has popped off a few good 90 scores over the course of weeks 1, 2, and 3. Had a rough week 4 bounce back with a 0.82. And our 21 seed is going to be Caven 856.
Yeah, definitely a runner that takes himself seriously and wants to perform the best possible whenever they race. Has shown a lot of promise and is definitely a runner that you don't really want to get matched up against, especially when they're on their A game. So, yeah, that's going to be rough for whoever is comes out of our 44-85 matchup.
Oh goodness, I'm taking a look at this next match here. We've got the 44 and the 85 seeds. These two have run with each other in various SRL races as we've moved along throughout the years here. These two definitely know each other. One of them is an unfortunate New York Mets fan, but they do like cats. Mr. Cab 55 is your number 44 seed.
He's 11 seats too high, in my opinion.
Absolutely, but sometimes you play a little bit too strong and you make the World Series like the Mets does, like the Mets do. He'll be facing off against JLo 7, the 85 seed.
Yeah, J-Lo has been around quite a while too, and don't let that seed fool you. He can definitely tear apart a seed. So that's going to be a really good matchup with Mr. Cab there.
Mr. Cab has been moving along here as we moved through the few weeks as we introduced shapes, put in a .93 last week. Could be a very interesting match and could be a very interesting second round match, too, against Caven 856 for the winner of this match. We're moving on to the number 12 seed, the second of the runners who did not get to the top 10, but has a very, very consistent score all throughout. He likes bombing things.
Yes.
Talking F. Coughlin, the creator.
Yeah, none other than Fred. 12 seed, definitely. Everyone knows how good Fred is. I mean, we don't need to sit here and say anything about it. All I can say is
he did do it.
At least he checks bomb crocs.
You had me screaming for a while there yesterday, Karim, because of that, but that's neither here nor there. We've got a whole lot of matches still to go to, and I haven't even seen my name on the list.
Oh, wait. You're still in this, aren't you? I knew I forgot
Yeah,
something.
I guess we're gonna have to amend these brackets now.
Fred is going to get the winner of the 53-76 matchup. And another good matchup of relatively newer runners. I mean, we have, them going up against the creator, so the initial runner of the Zelda Randomizer. And but these two aren't to be taken lightly. And that's Mr. Dunlow and Overswarm.
Overswarm, you know him from the vanilla community, has done some great things in his push for a sub 30 time in that game. Has transcribed that to playing the randomizer, and it's good to see the people who have moved along between the vanilla community as well as coming on over here and playing with us, which is really nice to see. Mr. Dunlow coming in. These two did go head to head. Twice during the course of the qualifiers. Overswarm won one, Mr. Dunlow won one. The one that Mr. Dunlow won, he finished 11th out of 21 in a race that Overswarm ended up forfeiting. That was the week 2, race 8 qualifier.
Yeah, so I mean, up and down, this is a really good bracket. A lot of good names. So
that is a scary bracket, just like the previous one is. But we're not done yet. We've still got 3 more brackets to go here. And let's go ahead and bring up our number 4 seed. I know some people have been trying to predict who is going to be the number 4 seed. In fact, some people have been trying to predict this thing. They do have a 4 in their name. In fact, they have 2 4s in their name. We're talking Antlers 44, your number 4 seed.
Yeah, Antlers, another one of those extremely good runners. Obviously, our top 10 or top 15. Well, everyone is a really good runner, but Antlers is someone who legitimately scares me when I go up against him in races because I'm like, well, at least there's one position I'm not getting. So, I mean, I always... Antlers is one of the ones that truly scares me. I'd actually have to go back and check if I've beat him personally. Luckily, I don't have to face him because I'm not 61 or 68.
Yeah, we'll get that in just a moment. Antlers ended up getting the top 10 seed because of his third week finish. He ended up falling behind Unos and Crystal Saber in those standings, but those two having already pulled out a top 10. Antlers got it as the number 3 of that week with a 1.190, and has just continued to play very well. 1.04 back in week number 4. Now, he's going to be facing off against the number 61 and 68 seeds, and we'll start off with the 61 seed. It's been somebody who's new to the Zelda 1 randomizer community, has been well known in a different randomizer community, and likes coffee. It's Willard J. Bradley.
And just to mention, NY Rambler, you may want to avoid Salem because they might think you're a witch.
So Willard J. Bradley's going to be facing up against Much Paranoia.
Yeah, Paranoia, another runner that has been quite surprising in some of the races that they've been in, and I've been really impressed watching them on some of their races as well.
Much Paranoia ended up having one head-to-head against Willard J. Bradley. That was back in week number 1. Willard J. Bradley finished in 148.17, 27th place. Much Paranoia was 139.43 for 25th place. They had not seen each other since. Much Paranoia did get a third-place finish in the 7th race there, the infamous Crim's Gonna Kill You race that we did on Saturday. Willard J's been coming along pretty nicely. He's been practicing this very consistently throughout the entire night. And this should be a very fun best-of-3 match here to see who faces Antlers in the second round.
Absolutely, and whoever comes out of that top portion, they're going to have their hands full with the winner of this next matchup because both of these runners have been very consistent going throughout the entire qualifiers, and that is going to be 29 versus 36, the Dr. Blue and Elendar.
Well, I'd like to call for the doctor right now, see how he's feeling about this. Has been coming along. I say this about a lot of these runners, but when you see Dr. Blue's numbers as we've gone from week 1 to week 5, it definitely shows the progress that the Dr. Blue has displayed over the course of these past 5 weeks. Went from a 0.46 back in week 1, jumped up to a 0.88 in week 3. And got the top of his Z-score averages of 0.91 in week 4, 0.91 in week 5. Dr. Blue is going to be a serious foe to contend with. And Elendar is going to have their hands full. But Elendar is going to be somebody who you're going to have to keep an eye on here. 0.84 in week number 5, 0.86 in week number 2.
Yeah, and then if that wasn't enough, now we're going to go down to the bottom part of the bracket, and it's just going to get worse.
Well, so we started off one part of the bracket on the previous one with a creator of a randomizer, and we're going to go to the bottom part of this bracket by toasting another randomizer creator in the name of Digshake.
Yeah, Digshake's been another one of those runners that's been around since the beginning of Z1. Took a lot of that inspiration into everything he's put into Z2 and actually absolutely obliterates Z2, but definitely not a slouch in Z1 either, and can easily go far in the brackets of this tournament.
Yeah, Digshake ended up coming in here and pieced together in week number 5 3 races, 0.98, 0.87, 0.91. That says a lot about his consistency. He could have an interesting week or round number 2 match between the 45 and 84 seeds. And we're going to start off with the 45 seed. Somebody who is hours, miles, thousands of miles away from us. One of our European friends, King Doll.
Yeah, King Doll, one of our European ambassadors, has done a lot for us over in the Europe side of things, and is an incredibly good runner. It is a shame that we don't get to see him play more throughout.
You know, the interesting thing about King Doll is that you could set up a race time with him and he'll play it even if it's like 4 o'clock in the morning his time. Like, he was in some of our qualifiers that were at 11 o'clock for our West Coasters, and here he is at 4 o'clock in the morning running in these.
Yeah, and his opponent is a really interesting opponent, so we'll get to that, and that's going to be Almighty Bobino.
Almighty Bobino is somebody here with the 84 seed that you'll have to watch, see how they go. I would have to admit that I haven't seen a whole lot of them over the course of the 5 weeks, but what I've seen, they do have some skill, and this could be one of those matches here where Jake Shea's going to have his hands full in round number 2.
Yeah, speaking of round number 2, and speaking of people that are a handful to race.
Oh my goodness, this guy is definitely a handful. He raced in my Leap the Alpine Battle Royale over the summer, and he's one of those ones that he could decimate a seed by 15 minutes, and you just go, how? How did he do this? How did he get to it? How did he end up getting this done so fast? And it's because his competition, his ability, his execution is super strong. Thurwolf.
Yeah, Thurwolf is just a crazy runner.
And as pointed out in chat, he doesn't make mistakes.
Yeah, I think most of us have watched him win a seed and are just astounded at exactly how he's able to do it. But you just go watch his videos, and that's what it is. I mean, he's very precise, he's very methodical and everything. So definitely an insanely good runner.
So we're moving on to the number 52 seed and the 77 seed, and this is the person who will be facing off against Thurwolf in the second round. One of them loves baguettes, is from France. The other doesn't know what bonk rocks are.
Yeah, so I get a gauntlet apparently, and I didn't fare well in Link to the Past, so I'm probably not going to fare well here. But it is myself against Penolf.
Penolf and Krem faced off against each other once during the course of the qualifiers. That was in week 3, race 1, which Krem ended up finishing that seed 56-18. Penolf was 117-51. Penolf is a good vanilla runner, and is definitely somebody who's been in the randomizers many times and been many of our tournaments. Just has been getting wrecked by a few of these seeds, but if he can get it together, watch out, Krem.
You're not telling me anything I don't know, Rick.
I mean, that's pretty much how the entire past hour has been as far as what I've had to say. So change the slide on over. We're about ready to introduce our number 8 seed.
Yeah, this is going to be our last quarter of the bracket, our 8 and our 1. So we'll go ahead and hit the 8 first, and that is Mr. Zed.
We've known this guy as somebody who used to troll TGE. Ended up getting a top 10 seed thanks to his 1.07 that he scored in week number 2. Shapes ended up dealing him a rough blow with a 0.48 back in week number 4. So he is a vulnerable top 10 seed, but that doesn't mean you want to play loose against him. And I'm talking to you, number 57 and 72. Number 57, 72. Let's see. So how do I introduce number 57 properly?
Just do it. I already revealed him.
I was going to say Lutra, and then they were going to expose him, but you decided to ruin all the fun.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's a lawyer. There is no fun when that's involved.
Objection. So that's going to be a real fun first round match between OPT Lawyer and Cyber Chow. Cyber Chow is somebody who's definitely shown some skill as we've moved along throughout this entire qualifier. So he's not somebody you want to take lightly. And OBT Lawyer's definitely got somebody who's been playing this for a while and knows what he's doing. So we've got ourselves a fantastic round number one match. Winner gets Zebgeni in round number two. So the upcoming number 25 seed is somebody who apparently doesn't know what a spiral cave is. I don't really know what else to say about this person, except for he loves to hear the sound of his own voice. And he just keeps rambling on and on and on and on and on. And just show the damn thing, Krim.
Oh, I was just going to let you keep going. I mean, why not? But yeah, number 25 is none other than Adirondack Rick. I'm sure he has stats about himself. And I'm sure he can go on and on and on about him. But
I suck.
No, you know, Rick has put up a lot of good times, and you know, and it's sort of in the same boat that I am, that could have probably put up a lot more good times, but has done so much on the back end of it that he hasn't been able to race as much as he I'm assuming that you would have liked to. So yeah, definitely no slouch yourself, Rick.
Absolutely. It should be a fun match between me and whoever gets me in the second round, between the 40 and the 89 seed. Number 40 is somebody who was also in my Battle Royale. In fact, actually did stun me, beat me, and eliminated me in, I think it was the round of 5 to send me packing. The other person is somebody who has been wondering where they're placed in this tournament for a few minutes here. Somebody that's definitely well known in the community. You've seen him both in this community, Z2, Z3 as well. So number 40 is Boletta. Number 89 is Bent Glass Tube.
Yeah, Boletta has done a great job in this tournament. Barely missing out on one of the first round buys, but a 40 seed is not bad at all. BGT, I believe, only raced in week 1 and week 5, so obviously that's going to cripple any score, but we've seen BGT race and everything.
BGT is not somebody you want to take lightly, and that should be a real fun first round match here to find out who faces me. Just place something that's behind a bomb wall in a Shapes dungeon, and they'll be perfectly fine. Moving on here, because we're down to 24 minutes before the weekly race. So the person that takes the number 24 is somebody who's been known in the community here for a few go-arounds now. They're amazing. They're a toaster. They're an amazing toaster.
Yeah, amazing toaster. Definitely a great guy. Got to hang out with him a few times at GDQ, and you know, another one of those people that is always like, a lot of times when you see them, they're doing something Z1R related. Does a lot of Z1R races, and
absolutely. Absolutely. He's been playing a whole variety of races. Ended up getting his best Z score in week number 2.92. Has come along, been very consistent throughout the entire process here, so should be a lot of fun here for Amazing Toaster as the number 24 seed to get the winner of the 41 versus 88 seed. Show me the information.
Well, that's going to be Nochibato versus Bitey's dad, 707.
Both of these runners are actually somebody who's new to the randomizer as far as the tournaments are concerned. They're both first timers, but Nochibato has definitely shown a lot of skills throughout the entire process. 0.86 week 1, 0.87 week number 2. As Shapes ended up slowing them down a little bit, that helped lower their seeding on down. Let's see. Bizy Dad has come along. Did not race in week number 5, which helped lower their lowered their seeding, but came along 0.35 in week number 2. Now we come up along the number 9 seed, and I'm just gonna say this to preface it here. It is not a chest jerk. They did not get a top 10 seed. Get your Lil Z's out. It's JSR.
Yeah, someone who actually showed a lot of frustration early on. Week two I think really took a dip in JSR's score, and he took the rest of the week off, and he came in week three, and boy did he come with it. I
Yeah,
mean, his last 3 weeks are just insane.
yeah, he came along and he amended how how he attacked these races. He no longer was really concerned about the races. No longer tried to take a look at the race IRC rooms. Just kind of just relaxed, focused on the race itself, and it paid off. Week number 3, you could see it building with a 0.96. Week 4, a 1.13 that gave him the automatic top 10 seed. The early 2 weeks there, the 0.62 and the 0.44 is what lowered him down to a number 9 seed. But the fact that he's come along and he is on fire, he's going to be a very tough match for the person who comes out of this 56 versus 73 match. And the first person here is somebody who's been coming along, and they, in fact, have been improving very, very soundly. They could actually be somebody you want to watch out for an upset if JSR is not careful. We're talking Magic Friends, and they're going to be facing up against ex-Russian Bishop.
Yeah, both of these runners are two of our newer runners, especially for this tournament, and both have been showing progress throughout the weeks. And really, when we were deciding to do this after GDQ, it was, what can we do to invite new runners and really get people to come in and just learn and progress. And Magic Friends and Next Russian Bishop are both exemplary examples of just how playing and learning and asking questions just increases your ability with the randomizer. So, yes, another intriguing matchup, just because these are two new runners and we haven't seen them much.
I just want to preface this to you a little bit more. Magic Friends ended up facing off against ex-Russian Bishop a couple of times during the course of the qualifiers. Week 1, race 2, week 1, race 3. Magic Friends ended up winning both of those matches. Now, I mentioned about Magic Friends coming along as we've moved throughout the entire process. Ex-Russian Bishop is somebody who's also been coming along a little bit here as we've seen their time start to improve as they get to a little more familiar with what we are throwing at them as we move throughout this tournament. I'm looking forward to the 56-73 match, but I'm also looking forward to the final page of our brackets here. We have the number 1 seed to talk about here, and this person, they are no slouch. They like to play. They count their counts. They have a device that helps them count their counts. They came in. They took the entire first week by storm, said, that's it. I'm done for the week. Ended up getting a top 2 seed, and just was consistent all 5 weeks around, winning almost every race. In fact, I think he ended up winning 4 of those 5 races that he was in. We're talking RC Drone.
Yeah, not only that, but I think if we didn't have the stipulation that you can only qualify for top 10 once, RC, I think, would have qualified 3 out of the 5 weeks. So that just...
Absolutely. He had a 0.11 in week 1. He had a 1.06 in week number 2, which was a phenomenal number in its own way. A 1.10 in week number 4, a 1.05 in week 5. He's not just winning these races, he's demolishing these races. And because of such, by 0.03 points, he is your number 1 seed.
Yeah, he's a treat to watch too. What he has done, not only in Randomizer but in Vanilla, pushing, like, Unos and RC, I think, are the reason that Lack has pushed as hard as he has.
He definitely got.
But yeah,
he definitely got Lack to sweep the board. His pushing for the 80% world record got Lack to push for sweeping the board. And I mean, Drone is definitely an excellent person in the community and is a delight to watch how he attacks some of these seeds. The person who gets him in the 64 versus 65 match, they will have a fun time against Drone in the second round. Let me just preface here by saying that between these two runners, they did not face each other in the course of the 5-week qualifiers, but they could make for a very interesting race together. Who is it, Krim?
Well, our 64 seed is going to be Malchior, and they will be facing off against Phoenix Ignition, who is also known in the community as Javeth.
Yeah, so JVeth ended up finishing second out of 7 runners in the week 2 race 5, putting up a 55-40. But ended up missing week number 5, which helped lower their score. It's ended up that week race 5 helped bounce back from having to take the forfeit that they did at race number 2. I'm looking forward to the 64-65 match.
Yeah, absolutely. And as some of the chat's mentioning, this 32-33 match is pretty good in itself.
I'm not really certain about that. Like, I don't know. These two runners, they're novices to the community. I've never heard of these names either. I've never seen them in any of the other tournaments. They've never defeated me in a blackout mode tournament that took 2.5 hours, or the other runner here who's been around for quite a while either. I don't know who these two runners are, Krim. Buzz Thunder and Karakarn VI?
Yes, it is actually Karakarn VI. It is not 6. Contrary to what a lot of people do not know. But yeah, Buzz Thunder and Karakarn, 2 more runners that have been part of the community for quite a while now, and both can put up excellent times. Karakarn is actually one of those intriguing runners that really only comes around tournament time, and it seems like he doesn't take any time off.
No, he does not, and I love the fact that he's definitely around here and in these tournaments here. Karakarn is a great competitor. Buzz Thunder is a great competitor, and let's just go down a few stats here. As it is 0.7873 overall average for Buzz, 0.7771 overall average for Karakarn. Buzz did come along and have a great week 5. Have a great week 5. Had a 0.96 in week 4. 0.104 in week 5. Buzz might have a little bit of an edge, but Karakarn could have a combative edge. We'll have to see. This is going to be that kind of match where you could have 2 different skilled opponents facing off against each other, and what they excelled in are different, but it could make for an exciting race.
Absolutely. Now, Rick, I'm sorry to say it, every single tournament, this guy keeps showing up, and he's always so good, but, man, he's just a jerk.
He is a jerk, and he's got to have heart. It's Chess Jerk, number 17.
Yeah, Chess Jerk, a really, really good guy. And since he's come on, like, I remember back in the day, he just sort of started casually playing Sims U1R, and yeah, he just kept getting better. And yes, just a great runner.
Chess Jerk is consistent. The numbers that he's had 4 weeks where he's been above 0.90 on the Z-score. And that shows a lot of consistency right there. 9.8 last week, 9.2 back in week number 4, 9.5 back in week number 3. Who he gets to face off against in the 48 versus 81. They better come prepared for a dogfight because, first of all, it's going to be a fun match when we put together the person who we know as our tracking moderator against the person who doesn't want to be called Luigi. Dark Falls versus Green Mario, your match here.
Yeah, Dark Falls has actually put up a lot of really good times the past couple of weeks. I know the race that I was involved in week 5, Brock actually pulled the second place time out of that.
He
And
did,
yeah,
and you don't want to take him lightly for that reason. Because in that race, Dark Falls definitely showed the skills and what can happen when you have quite the seed go your way. He scored a 1.03 in that race. That was the race that Chester ended up getting a 1.07 to offset his 0.89 he had back in in race number 2. But you got to watch out for Dark Falls. Now, don't also count out Green Mario. Green Mario ended up losing a few spots on the seeding because they missed out in week number 5, so I ended up having to take the 0 for that. So this should be a fun match, and the winner getting Chester, that should be a fun match as well. We're just getting down to the very, very bottom here, and we've got one more first round bye to hand out, and that is going to our number 16 seeded runner. And number 16, they're somebody who barely missed getting a top 10 seed back in week number 2, where they put up a 1.05. They've been fairly consistent except for a off week back in week number 3. They have a number 7 in their name, so being seeded number 16 isn't exactly what you'd want to see from them. However, they're a captain. They're the color green. It's Captain Green 7.
yeah, Captain Green, another one of those runners that you expect to see along the top of any race they enter. Very, very good runner. I know that's normally where they are when I see them race, and really, really fun to watch race these seeds. So that is definitely going to be a tough matchup. But man, 49 and 80, like even for it being 80, neither of these two runners are ones that you want to sleep on.
I would talk about this more, but we're running late. So we're being truant. Truant gamer number 49 versus number 80, Chrono JJ, to wrap up our brackets.
Yeah, Truant and Chrono, that's going to be a great matchup. And of course, the winner gets Captain Green. So yeah, there you have it. All 90 runners. As I said before, Fred is in the process of getting the form ready so everyone can start scheduling races. You can schedule as early as tomorrow. Just remember, if you do want to be restreamed, try to give a little bit of time so we can actually get it on the schedule and try to get people. If you don't want to be restreamed, when you submit your match, just put in the notes, no restream, and we'll definitely honor that. We're not going to require anyone to be restreamed. Obviously, we want to sit there and promote and highlight our community, but if for some reason you don't want to, just put a note in, and we'll definitely take that to heart.
So that is it for the brackets. We're going to have a lot of fun with this. Obviously, a lot of great matches on the schedule here. And there's hard picking which one is the best one, because there's more than half of these races are going to be quite the match to be watching out for. So I'm looking forward to brackets. I know you're looking forward to brackets. Don't forget, if you want to help us out with the brackets, we definitely could use some commentators, some trackers, some help out on the scenes. So let us know on the Discord if you want to help us out with some of that stuff, and we'll definitely help you guys out. But we've got a weekly race coming up in just 8 minutes. It's going to be actually a spoiler challenge, Krim.
Yeah, so what's going on right now is our two commentators, and we'll reveal who they are in a minute. They're currently looking at a seed that was rolled, and they're going to take notes and sort of give you the run through of what is happening during a spoiler challenge while everyone's spoiling themselves on the race. So definitely stick around to check that out. And that's actually going to be Redbird Grad and Wolflink 0370 on the call for that. So that's going to be quite a delight to listen to as well as watch.
Yep.
But
and not just the commentators. The runners are going to know what exactly is going on too. They're going to have 15 minutes to prepare themselves for all the things that the seed is about to hand them. So we're gonna have some fun. That's the weekly race, and they'll actually be handing out the seed coming up in 7 minutes. There's still room in the race room if you want to join in on that one. Race begins, or rather, the seed handout is in 7 minutes. The race begins in about 22 minutes from now.
Yeah. Quickly before we cut out of here and switch over everyone and stuff, just want to give the yearly or however often we do this, the shout outs to all the people that helped. And this is going to be a lot of the staff that has helped out. So, first, definitely want to give a shout out to Speed Gaming Randomania. Without the channels, and the tracking and all that, this would definitely be a lot harder to go about putting on. Our restream coordinator is the guy next to me, Rick on SG side and OPT Lawyer on RM side. Definitely do a lot in, where can we schedule people, where can we throw people, what can we do in this instance, and trying to get that all sorted out. Our commentary and tracking head, Greenleaf Effect, as much as I badger him, he's good at what he does. He knows commentary, he knows tracking, he knows that whole part of it, so he's been a big help. Then, of course, our head commentary. This is what happens when Crim copies and pastes at 12 o'clock at night. Our head commentary, Liquid Husband and X-Ice Blue, and our head tracking Dark Falls. And then our head restreamer, who's really the one who walks everything through on the Randomania side in Raystra. Everyone here has done a great job, not only on those, but helping get races set up and, all that stuff. So thanks to all of them, and thanks for everyone who has done commentary, restreaming, and tracking for us, because admins can't do it all themselves.
And the brackets begin tomorrow.
Yeah, so in the words of Fred, I just want to tell you all good luck. We're all counting on you. Here's to great brackets.